Welcome to the Great Hall at the Cooper Union for the Advancement of Science and Art. The Cooper Union was founded in 1859 by entrepreneur and philanthropist Peter Cooper. He wished to provide education accessible to people of all races, genders, and religions, along with a forum, the Great Hall, where public discourse could find a home. For more than 150 years, the Great Hall has been a platform for educational lectures, political movements, campaigns for social reform, and the creative arts. Here, abolitionists like Frederick Douglass campaigned to end slavery, and suffragists like Elizabeth Cady Stanton to gain votes for women. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln gave the speech that he claimed propelled him to the White House. Working people organized labor unions, and civic reformers, political movements. Proponents explained the ideas of Darwin, Marx, and Freud, and opponents challenged them. Musicians played, poets read, filmmakers screened. Ordinary men and women stood up to voice their opinions. The hall has offered a platform to American presidents, from Lincoln and Grant to Clinton and Obama. From its founding, the Great Hall has served as a forum for citizens to shape their society. Today, you continue in the legacy Peter Cooper envisioned.
Well, good evening, and welcome to Cooper Union and the Great Hall. I'm Barry Shoup. I am the Dean of the Albert Nerken School of Engineering. We are both happy and proud to host the celebration of the 75th anniversary of the Society of Women Engineers. We're happy you have joined us, and we are proud to be hosting this celebration because the Society of Women Engineers started right here at Cooper Union. So the Cooper Union for the Advancement of Science and Art was founded in 1859 and was dedicated to Peter Cooper's radical commitment to diversity and his vision that fair access to an inspiring free education fosters a just and thriving world. Students were admitted without regard to race, culture, religion, gender, or socioeconomic background. From the very beginning, Peter Cooper took the revolutionary steps of opening the school to women and men. This Great Hall was an integral part of his vision. It was the platform for some of the earliest workers' rights campaigns, for the birth of the NAACP, the women's suffrage movement, and the American Red Cross. And as we all know, on May 27th, 1950, women engineers and students converged at the Cooper Union Green Camp for the founding meeting of the Society of Women Engineers. Today, we are not only reflecting on 3/4 of a century of groundbreaking achievements, but we also honor the incredible women who dared to engineer change, who broke barriers, built bridges, and paved the way for future generations. I'm proud to say that the Cooper Union and the Albert Nerken School of Engineering continue to lead and break barriers. 10 years ago, 6.8% of the tenured and tenured track faculty in the School of Engineering were women. Today, it's 42%. I'll say that again for pause. Today, it's 42%. This dramatic change in our full-time faculty has resulted in a corresponding change in the composition of our student body. Today, of the engineering students at Cooper Union, 43% are women. As we celebrate this remarkable milestone today, let us remember that this anniversary is not just about the past. It's about the future we're building together. Here's to 75 years of engineering a better tomorrow and to the countless possibilities that still lie ahead. And now it is my great pleasure to welcome to Cooper Union and to this stage Karen Hording, who is the Executive Director and the CEO of the Society of Women Engineers.
Well, thank you for that kind introduction, Dean Shoup. I have to say, I was excited to be here at the Cooper Union for a number of reasons. One is your record of significantly increasing the number of women tenured or tenured track faculty here at the Cooper Union's Albert Nurken School of Engineering. Thank you for your personal commitment to advancing women in engineering. Today is a day that is both amazing to some and foreseen by others. I was struck when I saw this copy of a newsletter published in 1950 announcing the formation of the Society of Women Engineers. The lead sentence reads, "I am convinced we are going to grow into a large and powerful organization." That was Beatrice Hicks, SWE's first president. Little did she know how right she was. The world was a very different place when SWE was formed. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, very few women went to college, much less became engineers. For many at that time, a woman's role was in the home, not advancing society in a technical or industrial role. The meeting that formed the Society of Women Engineers took place on May 27th and 28th, 1950, at Cooper Union's Green Engineering Camp in Ridgewood, New Jersey. 61 women engineers, engineering students attended, along with a number of male allies. That meeting laid the groundwork for an organization that now spans the globe with programs ranging from advocacy, collegiate support, professional development, networking, and recognition. But SWE's role of increasing awareness and acceptance of women in engineering wasn't easy. For instance, in 1956, a top U.S. television show at the time, titled Father Knows Best, aired an episode where the teenage daughter declares that she wants to become an engineer, but she gives up after being ridiculed by her family and friends. By the way, SWE membership responded with a letter-writing campaign against CBS and the show's advertisers. And in 1960, SWE membership had grown tenfold to over 650 members and was moving into their new headquarters in New York City's United Engineering Center in 1961. A big accomplishment. But at the same time, a survey conducted by the Industrial Relations News found that 81% of male bosses won't hire gal engineers. Remainder take dim view of middle management spots. Needless to say, we had our work cut out for us. But whether driven by encouragement, dissatisfaction with the norm, vision of a better world, or pure grit, SWE continued to expand its mission, its benefits, and membership. While there are some great moments that show how SWE supported its members and expanded its reach, my goal isn't to provide a detailed history here. All of that information and more is at our website. I encourage you to visit SWE.org/75th to take a look at the video section of the 75th anniversary, as well as the timeline. And you'll actually see some footage from that first meeting at the Cooper Union. The Society of Women Engineers that started at the Cooper Union in 1950 now spans 85 countries with over 50,000 members worldwide. We are led by our mission to empower women to achieve their full potential in careers as engineers and leaders, expand the image of the engineering and technology professions as a positive force in improving the quality of life, and to demonstrate the value of diversity and inclusion. SWE's activities include outreach to support and involve pre-college women in engineering and STEM-related activities and education. We offer collegiate support, including 320 scholarships totaling $1.5 million just this past year. Advocacy is an important part, from supporting the Equal Rights Amendment in 1973 to our annual congressional outreach days in Washington, to having a representative in Washington advocating daily on SWE's behalf. With SWE's help, the voice of women in engineering and STEM is being heard. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is a major focus for SWE. And no matter the political climate, SWE strives to be a leader in DEIB initiatives, thus helping both SWE members and our employer partners with their efforts to recruit and retain the best talent out there and create an inclusive environment where everyone can succeed. Our local annual conferences and education programs are a wellspring of learning and providing greater skills for our membership. They also foster what I think is SWE's superpower: access to a network of like-minded individuals who exist to support each other. If there is one constant I've seen in my time at SWE, it is the power and positivity that comes from SWE members connecting and supporting each other. I don't know of any other community like SWE. And lastly, recognition. Decades ago, SWE realized many of their members' accomplishments were overlooked. In response, SWE dedicates significant focus to recognizing and celebrating members at local and national levels. And taking a look at the founding of SWE, I quickly understood why Cooper Union was chosen. Your founder, Peter Cooper, his belief was, an education equal to the best technology schools established should be accessible to those who qualify, independent of their race, religion, sex, wealth, or social status. I think your founder and SWE founders would have been great friends. The last 75 years of women's issues in engineering and STEM have been through a myriad number of changes. And the mission that SWE supports has created a launch pad from which today's women engineers can excel. Thank you to the Cooper Union for hosting SWE and acknowledging our 75th anniversary. I would also like to acknowledge our many past SWE presidents who are here in the audience with us in New York, as well as our SWE staff. I've spoken a bit where SWE has been and acknowledged some of the many who have helped us get here, but we're not stopping now. I speak for the SWE Board of Directors, the Board of Trustees, the SWE Senate, all of our SWE volunteer leaders, and all of our members when we say the future for SWE looks bright and for women in engineering. And I invite all of you to join us. So moderating this evening's panel is our FY25 SWE President, Karen Roth. Karen is joined by SWE past President, Jill Tietjen, who was our FY92 SWE President. Our SWE President-elect, Darrat. And the SWE Section President from here at the Cooper Union, Lizelle Ocfemia. And finally, although she is not an engineer, she probably knows more about SWE's history than anyone in the room. SWE's Archivist, Troy Eller English. So now I will turn it over to Karen.
Thank you so much, Karen. So I don't think it was until I was sitting in the audience listening to the talk that it really hit home with me that this is our 75th anniversary. I know we've been talking about it and planning for it and being excited that it's coming, but today's the day, right? And we are part of history, all in this room, all in this audience. And I told Troy on the side, I'm like, we're going to take another picture with the whole group here, just like they did at the Cooper Union Green. And hopefully in 150 years, they're going to have the Cooper Union picture, and then they're going to have the picture of us here at the 75th anniversary. So I can't thank everyone so much for being here with us in person and online to celebrate together. So congratulations to all of you that we're here 75 years later. All right, so for our STEAM panel, I have 5 very important questions that we're all going to go through to talk about this past, present, and future of SWE. So for our very first question is for Jill. And so positive changes, what are the positive changes that you've seen over time during your career for women in engineering?
Thank you, Karen. I graduated from high school in 1972. That was the year, for the first time, that the percentage of women in engineering getting BS degrees in the United States reached 1%. Really, I'm not kidding. I entered the University of Virginia in the third class of women who were allowed to matriculate as undergraduate students. In my class of 1976, of 220 engineering students, 7 were women, and no female faculty who were women. And as I learned later, a key number was that in 1968, the number of females that graduated in the US, the entire US, with PhDs in any engineering field was 5. I thought that there were women in engineering at other universities, and when I went to work, I realized that that was an incorrect assumption. And at that time, the University of Virginia didn't have a collegiate SWE section. You have to have 10 women to charter a section, and you have to be aware of it. And we didn't meet either of those criteria. And so I found SWE in 1979, joined and became active. I want to echo a statement that Karen Hording said. To me, SWE is a family unit, a place where I'm accepted, where I have support and encouragement. In 1997, I became the director of the Women in Engineering program at the University of Colorado at Boulder. And I remember the dean saying to me, "We're so excited. 1 in 5 students in engineering here is a woman." And then his daughter, who was one of those students, said, "I can't believe the low percentage of women that we have here. It's only 20%. And just that difference, and to hear that we're at 40% now here at the Cooper Union is wonderful. I do want to do a shout out to the first female dean of engineering who was here at the Cooper Union, whose name was Eleanor Baum. Eleanor was very active in SWE, a wonderful person and an inductee into the National Women's Hall of Fame.
So to tie into that, our next question is for Troy to tell us a little bit about our history here. So what were the big watershed moments in SWE's history? You know, we had some big spurts of membership growth, we had our first CEO, we had globalization. Can you really walk us through some more of that, Troy?
I will try to do so briefly, which is not my specialty. So
This is probably a shout out for SWE.org/75th for the breadth of Troy's work.
yes. I see, looking back over the arc of SWE's history, I see 3 to 4 transformative moments, aside from the founding, of course. So in the early 1960s, SWE was still quite small. It was less than 700 members. And one of the reasons for that was because only 0.4% of all engineering bachelor's degrees were going to women. There just weren't that many women coming into the field. But even though SWE was small, it was growing in consequence and stature. So in 1961, SWE moved into its headquarters office in the United Engineering Center. They were invited to come. So they had a headquarters office. It was a tiny office, sharing a building with all of the major engineering organizations. That was very. It was a sign that SWE was going to survive. And then you also see in 1964, SWE founded and hosted the first International Conference of Women Engineers and Scientists. There were more than 500 members, or 500 participants that came to that conference. SWE had never had more than 120 people at any conference at that point, but they thought big and they made it happen. We see another transformative moment in the 1970s. So in the 1970, SWE had 1,100 members, but by 1980, SWE had 9,600 members, just massive growth in the 1970s. And that was because the percentage of women surged into engineering. So in 1970, there were 0.4% of bachelor's degrees in engineering were going to women nationally, and by 1980, that percentage had soared to 9.7% of all bachelor's degrees. And 2/3 of those members in SWE were students, and they really changed the society. So students, in 1976, students got a voice in SWE on the Council of Representatives. SWE opened up membership to men for the first time, and that was largely because of universities and Title IX. SWE built corporate-sponsored scholarships in the 1970s. SWE advocated for the Equal Rights Amendment in the 1970s, which was a huge departure from its previous stance on public policy. And then SWE also started to institute professional development seminars. That major growth led to some struggles in the 1980s and 1990s. The 2/3 of the members were students. They paid lesson dues, but they needed a lot of support from SWE. And so the 1980s and 90s, there was some restructuring. There were financial challenges, but SWE still made progress in terms of outreach for diverse populations. They completed a research study. Members testified on Capitol Hill. They built corporate partnerships and corporate-sponsored scholarships, even with limited resources. And then you see another huge transformative moment in the early 2000s when SWE started thinking even bigger. And I think at least a part of that had to do with, in 2002, SWE hired a longtime SWE member as its executive director, Betty Shanahan, who had been a member of SWE since 1974 as a freshman. And I think she had the experience in SWE. She co-chaired a national convention. She had been a volunteer. She understood where the benefits were for members and where SWE volunteer work caused some burnout. And so I think, because she was a member, she was able to advocate with corporate partners, with other organizations, to have, to get the resources to think big in terms of the Corporate Partnership Council, in terms of advocacy, took a huge step forward beginning in the 2000s. Even more corporate-sponsored scholarships. The amount of scholarships that SWE offers is tremendous compared to where it started. And I think we are beginning a new transformative period with SWE's membership. Just topped 50,000 members, which is amazing. It's amazing compared to where the society started, where in the 1950s, they weren't sure they were going to make it. So I think we're in the middle of a new transformative era in SWE, where we have a large membership. SWE has gone global. There are about 15% of SWE's members are outside of the United States. And I can't wait to look back in 10, 15 years and to see where we go next.
And when we gather today, Troy, how many of us get together all in one place? 20,000. 20,000 whenever the calls to women engineers go out. come together every single year. So the next question is for Ines. Space race in the 60s is a past example. SWE was able to leverage that to promote women in engineering. Here we are in 2025, and 1 in 3 engineering jobs are going unfilled per a 2023 Boston Consulting report. How is SWE continuing to work on this issue from pre-college to career?
So really our next, I guess, space race is AI and sustainability. And it's really great because we've got 2 areas where we truly need new engineers, right? And this is an area where the current graduating classes of engineers are not going to be able to take us through this next phase in our society, especially with machine learning. Like Lizelle was just defended her thesis on machine learning for cancer research, and it's really kind of cool. She's graduating with an electrical engineering degree, but machine learning could be across any field. Like, a lot of us are like looking at it within our own fields. I'm a chemical engineer by training, and you could do it across multiple engineering fields, and we can expand the members and the amount of women coming into engineering by really considering what is machine learning, what is AI, what's the potential, and how does it affect people's everyday lives. A lot of women especially consider, like, what do I want to do? Can I help society? Well, machine learning could do that because, again, cancer research is a perfect example. There's other things. And sustainability is also another avenue. There's sustainability, I always talk about it from a traditional and non-traditional setting. There's the, like, let's transform the world, or there's also the, let's look at what we currently have and how can we make the next phases. And that goes across all engineering fields. And it also, allows you to consider, what does my current work do, and how can I improve society, and how can I improve life for everyone? And so those are really some of the things that SWE captures. And we do things from conference. Dana and I sat on a panel, who was past president, sat on a panel talking about sustainability with other fellow engineers at conference. AI was a huge part of the India We Local conference and a lot of discussions when we were in Bangalore. And so we've also done a lot of AI sessions at other We Locals, and I think it's really a matter of honing in on our offerings, on our trainings, on the Advanced Learning Center, on just a wide range of things, and our networking potential to really hone in on bringing more women into engineering, especially as we're talking about where AI can take us and where sustainability can take us as well.
So you made a great reference to Lizelle, and our next question is for her. So when SWE staff visited you back in November, they were blown away by the projects that they saw that you and your fellow students were working on, including things like clean harbor projects, repopulation of oysters, cancer research, just a few minor things. Can you talk really more about those innovations you're working on and how you're going to impact the world tomorrow?
Sure.
No
Hello?
pressure.
Oh. Hold it all the way. Oh, okay. So I guess I'll talk about all the projects I've worked on over my 4 years at Cooper, which is quite a lot, but we'll condense it down. So before coming into Cooper, I was actually an art student, and I feel like coming into Cooper, I really wanted to chase like the next big thing, but I didn't really have the technical background to do that. So during my freshman year, I stumbled upon our school's self-driving car team, and over the next 2 years, I was actually in charge of collecting sensor data from the car and translating that into the car's movements. I then used those skills that I learned in that team to actually go to Iceland for a summer abroad and do kind of the same thing, but in autonomous drones. Specifically, my advisor was really interested in how do we use these autonomous drones to collect samples from the active volcanoes around Reykjavik in that time. Very cool, super cool. And that was just the first 2 years of my Cooper experience. And then for my junior and senior year, I really wanted to hone in one specific field, which was machine learning. I guess my main project I worked on in junior year was how do we use both signal processing from my electrical engineering side as well as machine learning to figure out how can we detect Alzheimer's disease from audio recordings of patients talking to their doctors. That's still an ongoing project in Cooper, where the underclassmen are now taking charge of that. Junior year, I also was in a class known as Data Science for Social Good, and in that class, we had a very important project in collaboration with the art students at the school to work with the National Black Women Justice Institute to highlight what really happens to Black women who were incarcerated, and where do they, like when they come back, what are the effects that are caused by that. I guess I'll actually talk about what I just did like a couple of hours ago. So a couple of hours ago, it was actually the senior showcase, and for my senior showcase, I worked a whole year to figure out how can I use my brain waves to control a robotic arm. And that kind of sounds super ambitious, which it was. It took a whole year, and I'd say it's in a functional state. It can move left, right, up, and down, and it, for the most part, it listens to me like 60% of the time. But it was cool enough to like show people in the lobby. Yeah. But I guess the most important, or my most impactful, innovative project that I was working on was in collaboration with Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. Over the past year, I worked with the Resnick Lab at MSK to use machine learning techniques to classify stages of this not really known symptoms that a lot of cancer patients go through. It's known as cachexia. And as you said, that research is actually my master's thesis work, and I defended last Friday, and now I'm getting my bachelor's and master's in 4 years. So thank you. And yeah, I'm excited to expand more knowledge that's already out today. Yeah.
I think it's important that you show everyone the big splotch of paint on the side of your shirt
Oh,
too,
yeah.
that she showed us off.
So it's,
you know, that was the result of the senior showcase and
Yeah,
all the work that
yeah.
she's been doing and making sure that she put it all in there.
Yeah, the senior showcase, it's there's a lot of paint from the robotic arm. It I was like, well, I don't have time to change, so.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
straight from robots to SWE.
Yep, thank you.
All right, so thank you so much, Lizelle. And in order to wrap up our questions, I want to come back around to Jill. And I'd like her to tell us a little bit about why it's important to draw attention to the accomplishments of women engineering.
Women are not written into history. Their accomplishments are not known. They are invisible and marginalized, and their contributions are minimized. Admiral Grace Murray Hopper, the 1964 Society of Women Engineers Achievement Award recipient, made it possible for us to have smartphones and every other kind of computer that we have by her invention of the computer compiler. Yvonne Brill, also a SWE Achievement Award recipient, invented the engine that keeps the satellites aloft today. Alice Stoll, who I just learned about, a SWE Achievement Award recipient, actually did the tests on the effects of G-forces that enabled Kelly to go into space safely. Writing women into history is important. Women are being erased right now. It's actually my passion to write women into history. And I have the honor of serving as the series editor for the Springer Women in Engineering and Science series. Anyone in here who is interested in helping me and the rest of us write women into history so that they are in the history books, please come talk to me and see me. And I'm delighted that my executive editor from Springer is actually in the audience tonight. One of the books that will be out this year is a book on the first 25 SWE Achievement Award recipients, 1952 to 1976. We are planning that it will be available for We25, which is our national conference in New Orleans in October, and another of the authors of a chapter in that book is here in the audience with us tonight. So, writing about these women, the role modeling that it provides, the information that is then available for boys and girls and men and women is very important. And the last thing that I'll say is that there are opportunities around the US and around the world to nominate women for awards, including the National Women's Hall of Fame based in Seneca Falls, New York, the birthplace of women's rights, state halls of fame, university recognition, corporate recognition, local recognition, state, business recognition. It's important to acknowledge the accomplishments of these amazing women on whose shoulders we stand.
Thank you to Jill, and thank you to all of our lovely panelists. This is the last time that I get to be up on a stage talking on behalf of SWE as my president's year closes out, but I can't think of a better way as my last thing I do is to close out the first 75 years of SWE and open the next chapter of the next 75 years of SWE. And I'm so looking forward to continuing to watch SWE and how it grows and changes and continues to evolve through that. So with that, thank you for everyone who's coming. Again, thank you to our panel. And I'm going to turn this back over to our esteemed Executive Director and CEO, Karen Hording, to close this out.
From one Karen to another, I appreciate that. We have a lot of Karens on our board this year, so it sometimes gets confusing. It's like I can always say, no, that wasn't my action item. That must have been another Karen. So thank you again to our panelists for their views of the past and the vision on what the future holds, and to think that all of this started at the Cooper Union. This would be an easy place for me to say something trite like we're standing on the shoulders of giants, but I don't think we are. I think the real truth is our founding sisters were much like us. Women with a foundation in engineering and STEM and a desire for connection, better representation, and brighter careers. The message that I'm leaving tonight's event with is, yes, you can. We heard this message in the brief history we saw of SWE, and we heard it in the comments of our panelists. Yes, you can be a woman engineer. Yes, you can be yourself in that role. Yes, you can achieve your career dreams, whether it be a researcher, inventor, author, executive, engineer, astronaut, or a title that you get to create. Yes, you can. If any of those 61 women who came together and founded SWE 75 years ago met us today, they'd be overjoyed at how far we've come. They'd also say, congrats on a great job. And then they'd say, now get out there and do more. And they're right. Yes, as Beatrice Hicks predicted in her 1950 newsletter, SWE has become a large and powerful organization, and I invite you all to join us. Join us as we celebrate 75 years of SWE. Visit the SWE website, swe.org/75th. Here you'll find information on our new SWE Legacy Endowed Scholarship, established this year in commemoration of this momentous milestone. I invite you to consider giving to the fund directly to support future generations of women engineers pursuing their careers. You can also contribute by picking up some of our 75th anniversary swag, as all proceeds go toward this scholarship. And while you're there, please take a look at our main page. There are so many great things SWE is doing for women in engineering or for those pursuing an engineering degree. In fact, if you're a student, please speak with Lizelle, the section president here at Cooper Union. She can show you the programs SWE is hosting locally. If you're an engineering professional or want to follow and support SWE, go to any of our social media sites and follow us. If you're a podcast fan, we have our diverse podcast series. And again, I want to extend my thanks to the Cooper Union and everyone here and in SWE for making this evening possible. Lastly, thank you for joining us on a night in SWE's history. I hope to see all of you in making the next 75 years even better than the last. Thank you for attending. Thank you who joined us via our SWE YouTube channel, and good night.